Hello and welcome to episode 63 of our Conversation to Connect. Let's get real talk, powered by Exceptional Connections. I'm Cyndi ONeill-Dady, the founder and chief connector of Exceptional Connections since 2009. Our Conversation to Connect this week is with the amazing Debbie Page, joining us from Black Diamond, Washington. Welcome, Debbie.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and keep chatting with you guys. Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. So Debbie was our spotlight speaker at our October 10th event, and we had a great time, and she just has so many beautiful nuggets to share with us. So I'm excited that we have an opportunity to roll up our sleeves and discuss her topic. Stop getting ready to get ready. The time is now. Embrace imperfection, take action, and thrive in business. So this is going to be super fun. Before we dive into this intriguing talk, I want to take a moment to introduce Debbie to any of our listeners who may not know her or who haven't kept up with her recently. Have her share her passion for helping people keep more of the money that they make. So Debbie Page is an internationally recognized and award-winning entrepreneur, business strategist, fractional COO, and advocate for women's economic independence. She is recognized as the leading authority on cash flow for women in business. For more than 25 years, Debbie has worked with women and money, and during that time has acquired, scaled, and sold 2 businesses of her own. Her clients achieve stunning success because of her commitment to accountability, execution, and the systems and processes that create sustainable and scalable businesses. Try saying that really fast. Systems and processes that create sustainable and scalable businesses. So when I'm working with her clients, Debbie is an active volunteer in her community. She's the chair of Life Center Northwest's advisory board, chair of Black Diamond Labor Days, president of the Friends of the Black Diamond Library, a current city council member in Black Diamond, and drum roll please, she was recently named 2023 Citizen of the Year for her community and Black Diamond community. That's beautiful. So Debbie is the proud pet parents to her enthusiastic and lovable Black lab is behind her there. So if you think you're seeing double, you're not. She refers to them as her Muppets. So join me in welcoming Debbie to our Conversation to Connect.
Thank you guys. It's such an honor to be here again, Cyndi. I wrote down episode 63. You and I did the first one.
We did.
This is crazy.
And that was March 10th, 2020.
Yeah. That was insane, huh?
I know. Yeah, I know. We come a long way, baby, right? And we've known each other since 2007.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about that, just 3.5 years, your community, Exceptional Connections, has had all this wisdom and heart poured into the community, and it's because of your vision. So good on you, lady and team. 14 years of doing this, you're getting something figured out.
Well, I hope so, but I know I have an amazing community and an amazing resources and loving, generous people like you to share with our community. And so thank you for that. I just want to have us, before we get going, you moved in 2019 to Black Diamond, and all the beautiful things that were on this bio that you've been up to. You've been a busy girl. No wonder they named you 2023 Citizen of the Year. I mean, you've been quite a contribution to that community.
It's interesting. And I think for anyone who has moved or thinks about moving, whether you're just moving, down the street or to a different city, I moved out here, with this toolkit of how to plug into community. And that came from all those years of networking back in 2007 when I was the most awkward networker ever and didn't know how to build relationships, just had no idea how to do it. And so I came out here, and for those of you who don't know the whole story, I moved out here so that I could move my mother in with me. She had Alzheimer's and dementia. And so I was very specific about what I was looking for in a home and location and whatnot. And so, I knew, like, look, it wasn't like there was a thriving, business community out here. There was a chamber of commerce. And so check, I knew I was going to join that. But I knew that the best way to engage in small communities or in community in general was just to start volunteering. And so the plan had been to kind of get through the end of the year, get Ma and I settled. And then in the new year, we were taking a big vacation, my partner and I. And I had told him that when we got back, I was going to plug in and start doing the volunteer thing. And so, we take the vacation and then the world shuts down. So all my plans to plug in, all my plans to plug into community, that just never happened for quite a while. It was very delayed. And I was really grateful during that time to have, exceptional connections and other communities that had, really adjusted quickly to online connection and recognizing, and we talked about it during that time, recognizing that, connection was going to be more important than ever before. And while we couldn't physically hold and touch and squish on each other like we had for so many years, at least getting eyeballs on other people to share this, you know, hopefully once in a lifetime experience, and to navigate and share ideas and best practices. So yeah, it was an interesting time. And yeah, then I started volunteering, and the rest, as they say, is history. So
Well, we know you're not getting in any trouble.
no, no, I am not getting into any trouble at all.
You don't have time to get into trouble.
No, I know our all of our officers by first name. They all know my cars. They know when I'm out walking the dogs. Everyone waves. Like, we're a
Yeah.
little slice of Mayberry out here. That's for sure.
Ah, it's lovely. And well, they're very fortunate to have you because you're just so passionate about making a difference in our networking community in the world. And, what a blessing. So I wanted to make sure we talked about that because, your life has changed a lot in the last couple of years. I mean, all of ours has with COVID, with the changes, wanting to be able to reprioritize how we use our time, our relationships. So that's why, one of the things about your topic, stop getting ready to get ready. The time is now. Embrace imperfection, take action, and thrive in your business. Why don't you go ahead and jump right in because you shared so much with our community. You're going to have more time today because we're going to have the first 45 minutes to be able to talk about this. And then we'll open the lines for those of you who are here. Just keep your questions. Feel free to put them in the chat box and we'll be able to have a conversation or have you share your ahas or epiphanies. So take it away, Debbie. Let's get us started.
Thanks. I just think that, I say this to my clients, I've been coaching now full time since 2011. And I can't tell you the number of times a week I say lovingly to a client, and I've been running my business online since 2011. And so, I say weekly to people, would you just stop getting ready to get ready? There is no more to-dos you need to get on the to-do list to get this little project off the ground. At some point, you just have to pull the trigger. You just have to go forward and get this done. And the reality is, this is a familiar dance for all of us. We know what it is. It can be in our businesses. It can be in our personal lives. Like I remember when I was married, one of the greatest arguments we got into was the time I hired a house cleaner. And he lost his noodle about the house cleaner and said that we had to clean the house and get it ready before the house cleaner could come. And how could I hire the house cleaner when the house was so, not ready to be clean? And that was really like one of the first times when I was like, oh my God, this spills everywhere. Like whether it's I'll start, a wellness program for, physical, I'll start a walking program, like, whatever it is, there's 1,000 things in our lives. And so when you and I, Cyndi, had a chance to, talk a little bit about doing something that was a little bit different, that wasn't just about cash flow and money and operations and systems, but it was really kind of that inner game of entrepreneurship. And I think that as we go forward, the economy is a little bit funky right now. I think we can all agree to that. Business owners are experiencing different different economic impact to their businesses, depending on industry. Some are super contracted right now. Others are holding steady. Some have grown. And so, really making sure that as business owners and as humans, we just don't get paralyzed, that we don't keep adding one more thing to the list before it's time to make the announcement, launch the thing, reach out to the person, whatever it is. And I said this during 2008, during that time I was a financial advisor. The money is still there. We're just going to have to be a little more creative in how we go about finding it, or perhaps where we look for it.
And that message holds true today.
It is timeless.
More than ever, it is. It's a timeless statement.
Absolutely. And I think there's also a delicate dance between, if any of us look around ourselves, we can see opportunities for ourselves in our business. And we can dream about what would happen if, like, what if, but the difference between all of you who are going to really be able to capitalize on opportunities and to seize these dreams is to use both your hands and reach for them together, and not just be like, oh, I don't know if it's the right time. I don't know, maybe that person's having a hard time with money, so I don't want to ask them to engage. Like all the crazy chatter that starts to go on in an entrepreneur's mind, that can stand in the way of what we're doing. And I really want to make sure, especially here where we are at this time of year, for all the people who get a chance to watch this or listen to it later, to understand that we need to be able to make a clear path and an agreement with ourselves to get from someday to today, right? There is never a good or better time to do something. If it is part of your plan and you have sequentially marched through what it's going to take to do the thing, whatever your thing is, it's not about someday or tomorrow or next quarter or next year. It's today. We're just going to have to get this done.
Right.
And so I just really want people to recognize that our brains were wired, to keep us alive. Prehistoric us, was all about the saber-toothed tiger hiding in the shrubs, and that's was the primary function. And so survival was what it was about. And unfortunately, there's a little teeny part of our brain that hasn't quite evolved to the point that it can distinguish between a saber-toothed tiger, which I haven't seen in my backyard recently, and just this feeling of anxiety, unknowingness, whatever it is. And so it reverts to survival and starts to put up all the things in your way. Oh, nope, you can't do that. Look, there are very few of us who truly will ever have anything that is life or death in our business. And so one of the things that I will always ask my clients is, what is the worst thing that could happen to you if you just said yes today? Walter, we don't need your input. So anyhow, what is the worst thing that could happen today?
Mm-hmm.
And the worst thing that would happen today, every single one of them, when we really poke on this and come back to it, is the fact that their person who they were put on this planet to serve, help, guide, would never have a chance to meet them. And I don't want to live in a world where my clients aren't reaching out every day, because I believe all of us, include all of you, were put on the planet to do something really spectacular. And every time you put one of these roadblocks or barriers in your way and think someday, or I got to get ready, that is, you are doing a disservice to the people who are meant to connect with you and whose lives you will impact or change based upon the work that you do.
Wow. Debbie, I love the way you're just kind of starting us off, giving us a foundation for that. And you're walking your talk yourself with just what you've experienced in the last, since 2019, when you moved yourself and your mom to Black Diamond and you got yourself settled, and you went through some hard times yourself. In the midst of that, transitioning with your own business and then getting involved and jumping in with both feet to Black Diamond. So, I think it's really appropriate that we talk about this today, that, that when we talk about calling and our purpose, I think it's more important than ever before. I've always heard people write books about it and talk about it, But I think right now, I mean, that's what's motivating me right now. That's what's moving me forward. That's why I get up every day and the things that I'm doing is because I feel like it's what I'm supposed to be doing right now,
Mhm.
and in the interest of others, not just myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, I love that. One more thing I want to mention that you said is, when you're talking about move from someday to today, I kind of envisioned the last number of years of this COVID time is like a waiting room. And it felt like we all are in the same waiting room. We can't really bust out. But what occurred to me is this waiting room time is a great time to do things and take action. That once the world really opens up and things start moving and feeling more normal, I don't know if that's possible, but you know, we won't have this time. This is a precious time.
Yeah, I 100% agree. One of the things that I found was, most people had known me for, up until, 2020 is, I was a cash flow business coach. That's what I did. That was my lane, and I stayed in it, nailed it, and I did it really, really well. And what I was finding though was is that my clients were evolving. They needed more support, and that support was coming more in that fractional COO space. And I could have either said that COVID was kind of my time to get ready to do it, or uh, what I did was say, look, there is a need that is here now, and perhaps business development is going to look different than it has previously. But I know the need is there. And more importantly, there is this window of time, the shared experience that we're all in, and businesses are really looking into their operational excellence and seeing all the flaws that are happening. And so, like I said to the group when I spoke in person earlier this month, I just became my own crash test dummy on this deal. And I thought, I can't keep writing the script. I can't keep doing, I just need to go out and start having the conversations and finding a way to plug in and serve. And that's what I did. And then 3 years later, that's now over 2/3 of my business. And I'm super happy for it.
Wow, that's beautiful. Well, you talked about this at the beginning. Historically, when we've had you come on as our speaker, and you and I have, talked about when would be the best time of the year. And you always gravitate towards the fall. You're like, ooh, I love the fall. I love being able to help people set goals and strategies so they can hit the ground running in January, not spend the first 3 months of the year noodling on, thinking about, dreaming about what they want their business to look like, right? But we're in different times now. And so although we had you intentionally speak in the fall, and this is something I really appreciate about you, Debbie, for many years you had this signature talk that you would give, and you would always add something new to it. It was, like the foundation of your talk, but then you would always add, what you had personally been through and what's going on in the world, incorporated that. And I just want to, again, publicly just acknowledge and thank you that the last 3 years, when I've had you back to speak either virtually or live or conversations to connect, each time you were like wanting to make your talk applicable to what we're all experiencing and what we're all going through and how it could best support all of us. And so, again, I just want to thank you for that, because I think that's a contribution in and of itself. And I think that's what's going to help us all just navigate these challenging times, is to make it as pertinent and applicable as possible so that we can grab onto it, something, and be able to, have a sense of stability in the midst of a lot of things floating around.
And I think too, thank you for that, Cindy. I think also, as business owners, one of the things that, much younger version of myself really thought that it was the success of my business was going to be based upon the tactical practical, right? If I made, one of my first jobs out of college was I worked for a recruiting staffing agency, and we had to make 100 cold telephone calls a day out of the phone book. And so if you ever have call reluctance, just think of me literally calling out of the phone book to try and find gigs for clients. But there was a mathematical equation to that, right? So the law of large numbers. And it took me into acquiring my first business and really working with my own coach to recognize that the bulk of the challenges that arise for most business owners, whether you are in a early stage startup, whether you are working in a direct sales company and building a team, whether you are 10 years down the road and into seven figures, more than seven figures, wherever you are, is that the greatest enemy for every single person that I just mentioned is everything that's going on in here. Like I can give you the blueprint, the roadmap, the strategy, the tactics. I can tell you the plan, the time to call, to do the things. But if we can't get this part right, all of that isn't going to make any sense, right? And so that's why when you came to me, I thought, this getting ready to get ready, there's, a handful of things that I work with my own clients on. And, for those of you who don't know me, I am super left brain linear. Like I want to put it on a spreadsheet. I want to see how it goes. Give me a Gantt chart and I am in my happy place, like all those things. But it's been the evolution of my own journey as an entrepreneur, and then really witnessing the power of working on some of what in business they might consider softer skills, how that really impacts the entrepreneurs. And so those were the things that that I talked about when I was there, Cyndi. Like embrace the imperfection, right? So we spend too much time trying to be perfect, whatever that is for you, however you define that, and it's just the enemy of progress, right? So this comes back to the getting ready to get ready. There is never going to be a perfect time to launch. There is never going to be a perfect time to make that call. I have a client who I've been working with for 7 years. And man, when I started working with them, it's a mom and son team. The son's doing the marketing, and boy, he and I would go round and round and round about the best time to make phone calls, right? Because he's on the marketing side of things. And I'm like, buddy, like there is no best time. Just pick up the phone and call. That's what you got to do. And one of the things that I recommended when we were together, Cyndi, was, the idea of what is the thing that we can do. So one thing we can do is embrace imperfection. And then what can we do to help move ourselves through that? And I love to get my clients like capturing these moments. So starting a journal to really be reflective of where perfectionism is holding them back. Either doing it as kind of an exercise to end the day. Like, where did I hesitate today? Because I thought I needed to do more to be ready to do the thing that I didn't do. We have 1,000 things in our head that will convince us not to do something every day. But until you can capture it and start to see your own personal pattern, it's always going to be kind of sneaking around and tripping you up. If you start capturing it and use this as an end of the day exercise, like where did I trip myself up today in the perfectionism category? Where did I delay on something, a phone call, writing an article, recording a video, reaching out to someone, whatever it is, where did I hesitate today? Because I thought I needed to do something else to be better prepared to do that thing. You'll start to notice a habit, and you'll be able to move through it, I think, in a way that you have not recognized before. Is something that I see in my clients. When you start to see the patterns as you do this, I'd always say to my folks, try it on. Sit with what fits. What's going to work for me to move through that, or what might work for Chuck to move through that, might be different than what Brenda or Cyndi or Joanne or Karen are going to need, right? And there is no one size fits all. But when we can get ourselves aware of it, that is a huge, huge, huge step in moving you forward, because you'll find yourself going, oh wait, I know what this is. Like, just off we go. Like, I'm not going to spend time going backwards to move forward. I just recognize what's happening, and I'm going to move around it. And that kind of leads to that, analysis paralysis, right? And this is, I don't know if there are any other overthinkers on the call, like people who can really good overthink things.
Let me think about that.
Exactly. Let me think about the answer, right? I don't know. But you really, it is possible, even if you are somebody who is, world-class champion overthinker, to be able to move to a place of making decisions swiftly and confidently and adapting as you go. And that's really where you get to leave that procrastination in the dust. And that goes back to the imperfection, right? So analysis paralysis, imperfection, they're close cousins, man. Like, they are besties. And they really think they're trying to help you out, when in fact, they're actually just slowing you down. And so when you find yourself in that sticking place of analysis paralysis, one of the things an exercise I'll give a client is, take a look at a time when you put something off because you needed to think about it, right? And I know we had asked for, an example, and I think Marcel gave us an example, of something that she had been thinking about doing when I was there earlier this month. And one of the things about this analysis paralysis part that can work so well is, think of for yourselves right now, everyone listening, what's something that you're putting off? Write it down and think about what are the necessary elements that need to occur in order for this thing to happen, whatever your thing is. Put some deadlines around it. Give yourself some timelines to move forward with it. Get yourself an accountability buddy. If you don't already have one, reach out, tell a friend, tell your dog, tell somebody that you have a commitment to get this done, a mentor, a coach, and then take this list and start making action on it. If you can break this down by starting with one thing, you're going to find that this is an exercise that you can move through much more quickly, every single day, if not every single week.
So essentially what I hear you saying, you're creating a roadmap for yourself, right? And even if you don't have the full vision, which we rarely do. I mean, we have glimpses, right? And then we're like drawn to it. But to be able to have a roadmap of like tasks that, you mentioned that at our meeting, identify different tasks that you can, accomplish consistently to move you forward, right? And so when we think of it that way, we're like, oh, I could do that.
It becomes easier and less overwhelming, right? So that's the other thing, is trying to get all this stuff out of our head. And if that's something, if nothing else, if you take nothing else away from this today, what I'm saying here is get it out of your head and get it onto paper. And I'm not saying get it into your computer, because that's a whole different animal. Science tells us I see Brenda nodding. There is a direct connection between all the stuff that's going on in here and the power of the pen and writing it down.
Yes.
It is a different experience than when you try and capture it. Now, if you want to take it and transfer it later, that's great. But giving yourself the permission to write things down, it is magic what happens inside your head.
It's so funny that you say that, because in college, I was a prolific note taker. And I would just be, notes. And yes, you use them to study for a test, but then do you ever look at them after that? But I didn't seem to need to, because I always said my brain is in my hand.
Yeah.
That was, kind of my way of acknowledging what you just said.
And it happens. And that really gets, us to the third point, which is strategic action taking. And this is the fine line between where we hear, oh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. You're so busy. I'm so busy. I don't care. There is a big difference between busy and productive.
Yep.
Right? I got a lot on my plate. I have a lot on my plate, but I am productive as heck, because I really, really, really can find the time that I get to work on things, and then I'm super spacious when I don't want to work, right? And that's the trade-off. And so if you can discover yourself strategies to help you prioritize your tasks, or all those things that are going on in your head that are going to move that needle forward, you're going to get to your definition of success much more effectively than if you keep doing likely what you've been doing so far. And it's not about adding more to your list. It's about doing the right things in the right order on your list. And so this was a task that I gave everyone at the talk earlier this month. I said, here we are, October, close to the end of the year. There's kind of two groups of people right now, some that are kind of putting it into fifth gear and just kind of cruising on through the end of the year. And then there are some of us that are downshifting to get some more momentum, some more power going so that we can really push forward to cross over into the new year. And so I would encourage you to test yourself on the strategic action taking idea with pick 3 of your top business priorities that you're committed to doing before the end of the year. And then identify within each of those 3 tasks that are specific to moving the needle on whatever that priority is. And then if you can commit to focusing on those high impact tasks, so 9 tasks total under 3 priorities, you do those every day to the degree that they need your attention before you do anything else, before you get online, before you scroll email, before you do social media, anything like that, and you measure your progress, I promise you, you will achieve more between now and the end of the year than you ever thought possible. Just because it's strategic, it's planned, it's thoughtful, and you're executing every single day.
So I want to just put an underline for those who didn't attend. Debbie gives me some networking nuggets that I put up on the board. And one of them that she said, and I just want to underline this because of the word, understand the difference. Because we all know there's busy and being productive, and some people collapse those. We all do at different times. But to understand the difference, to have that awareness, I think is really what you're saying.
100%. Like just moving things from like the noise that's out here to this part of your brain, to the awareness, to then be able to take action. These again are game changers, you guys, in how you do things. Plus, you get to create this blueprint or this roadmap for yourself so that when you find yourself kind of falling, off beat, you're not quite doing the amount that you'd like to be doing. I do this myself. I just do a hard reset. I'm like, hang on a second. Like, wait a minute. When was the last time you looked at your 3 priorities? And are you really doing those 3 actions underneath those? No, nope, nope, nope. There you have it, right? So now you've got ways to check in with yourself because, again, we are tricky creatures and we will lie to ourselves like nobody's business. And this is the difference between busy and productive. I have a whole pile of stuff over here that will keep me busy for a very long time. But is that anything related to productivity and moving the needle forward in my business to acquire the new business that I want to do before the end of the year? Nope, not a single thing in there is going to help me do that.
Right. Something else you said, Debbie, you shared about, and you were very generous because you didn't make a negative out of it, but I'm going to kind of take it in that direction. We have to also be aware of the time suck that social media can be. Because I know there's times I'll just check real quick, and an hour later, famous story, right? So that's awareness also. So just keeping those feelers out and giving ourselves parameters. We have to set a timer. And there are times in the evening, I won't let myself go look because I'm so tired that my guard is down and I'm more relaxed. And before you know it, time has just zipped by and I'm I should be in bed. I shouldn't be doing
Well,
this.
and for those of us iPhone users, man, when they put that little like, how much time have you spent online counters on our devices, it's like, oh God, like what have I done? What am I doing with my life? Like, what is this about? But and there are other tools too. So like some people, like I have a really good friend who literally has to put a wall up so that she's not on social media because she has absolutely no self-discipline or control when it comes to it. So she puts a blocker on her computer so she literally can't get to it during the day. Because she knows, like you, it's a really easy, like, oh, I got 5 minutes before my next call. Well, I'm going to go back and watch a TikTok or that video or whatever it is, like whatever. So, and the other thing too, guys, to be always mindful of is the vibration kind of that you're in. So I'm not a life coach, but believe very much in like our energy and sort of
Yes.
how we take care of ourselves. What we bring in is also, lined up with what goes out. And, the world is a very curious place right now. And so if we're taking in a lot of that information and we don't have our filters and guards up, it can really take our energy from us and drain us to the point that all these tactical, practical things, literally, like, you feel like you can't get out of bed. You feel like you can't get off the couch. You feel like there just is no motivation. So be really discerning with what you're feeding your energetic self with right now. I think always, but in particular right now. And so if that means, your habit is to get online and doom scroll, like, whatever news channel that you want to, maybe you can adjust that now to, finding, TED Talks. So instead of spending 20 minutes watching, CNN or Fox News or whatever, like, you can now go to YouTube and look for TED Talks, and you can find things that are inspiring or inspirational or motivational, and use that to feed yourself, because that does counteract the things that are coming to you that you're not even intentionally looking at. And it definitely offsets and kind of shifts the behavior from where you are. So that's just
Yeah, no, this is really I think a beautiful conversation, because this is where I think we get stopped. It's like the space, like you said, between our heads. And when we're numb, when we're not discerning, when we're filling our brain or our, eye gates, ear gates, whatever, with things that aren't moving us forward and aren't uplifting, sometimes it could numb us, right? And so one of the things that keeps coming to mind as you're talking is how important it is. Kind of, this is what I'm getting from what you're sharing, is really encouraging to me, is we have to be careful and pay attention to those nudges. Pay attention to the intuition, be still enough to listen and be guided by that. And that's one thing that I've kind of put into practice is, yes, I could be sending emails, but if I think of somebody, I might have a list of people I need to get back to. But if Brenda comes to mind, unless I have a call coming up or something, I'm tending to just give that person a call. I'm trying to pay attention to that intuition and that small voice. And sometimes I don't know what I'm supposed to, like, hey, I just felt like, I hadn't touched base for a while. How are you doing? What's going on? And it may just be an opportunity to set an appointment for another time.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Listen to those whispers and those nudges, Cindy. You are so good at doing that. And, you've taught me so much in the years that we've known each other, to be able to lean into that. And it can be, whatever your preferred method of communication is. It can be a quick text. It can be, the email. It can be a voice message. There's a woman who I connected to actually through networking when I lived up in Bellevue, a number of years ago. She's in financial services, and that's sort of how we first connected. She's running for city council in Redmond right now. And so we connected when she decided to start her campaign, and she had some questions for me. And to this point, she sent me a voice memo yesterday in the middle of the afternoon. And I was like, that's really interesting. Andy doesn't really do this. Like, I wonder what this is about. So I got done with whatever I was working on, and I listened to her voice memo, and she said, I just want to let you know. So we have a shared love for dogs, and her big dog she had to put to sleep last year. And she said, I just want to let you know, through all of this craziness with this campaigning and figuring out how to be a candidate and a public servant and all this, like, I just want you to know how many times I actually go to look for you on social media to see the antics and the good things that your crazy pack is up to. And I just want you to know, like, that meant a lot to me. Look,
Mm.
there's no agenda in her for that. She's just reaching out from the heart to say that. And, with technology, she could have just called me. She might have ended up with me on the phone. We could have had a conversation, but maybe she didn't have time. Maybe she didn't want to. But the point was, she shared something that was important to her in a way that I, who just kind of do what I do, it was making an impact to her. And so this is also a reminder to all of us that we don't know who is watching. And we don't know how much they're counting on us to do those things, right? And so whatever your brand is, if your brand is to put out posts about dogs or food or wine or inspirational memes or funny videos of you doing silly things with your family, like, you're doing them because you love them. You're not doing it for some impact, some effect on someone else. You're doing it because you're sharing, like, this pure joy and love that you have. but I think we discount how much of an impact that makes in the greater world around us that we
Mhm.
don't always know. And so she just reminded me that there's always someone watching us.
Mm.
And we don't know how much our vulnerability
Yes.
will create strength for something in them that we're going through. I could spend a whole hour, Cyndi, talking about
Oh,
all the
that's
work that I did,
that's beautiful what you just said.
right?
We don't know.
We don't know. We
We
don't
don't know the ripple effects.
no.
And
And
that's part of I mean, that's consistent with this conversation we're having about, being able to really embrace the imperfection and go with that and be able to just be real. Because I think more than anything right now, the last number of years, what that's taught us is people want authenticity. They want what's real. We're not about impressing each other and in perfection because we know that's an elusive thing anyway.
and this goes back, so now we wind back to social media, and then, I'll make my final point and we can open it up for questions or whatever. But um, look, if all of us ran into each other this afternoon at Fred Meyer, where I know need to go pick up a few things, you're going to recognize me. This is what I look like 24/7, to the point of authenticity. There is no filter. These I've worked 53 years to get these wrinkles going, man, and I am
Yeah.
super proud of them,
Yeah,
right?
I earned every one of these little silver streaks.
Exactly, right? And so this is the thing about the authenticity and just showing up, as we are and doing the things. And the
Mhm.
makeup doesn't need to be perfect for those of us who wear makeup, and the hair doesn't have to be perfect. And, you know, Chuck's beard doesn't have to be perfectly trimmed, though it does look dashing today, I will just say. Like, just showing up as we are will give other people an inspiration to do that. And this really does tie into getting ready to get ready. I don't have to get my hair cut to go live online. I don't have to lose 10 pounds to go live online. I don't have to take another course to write a blog post to invite people to come and do, like, I don't have to. And neither do you, right? And this is where, this component, which is a thread that's been running through this entire thing, is having your support network, building this community of people, this tribe, whatever you want to call it. It's not about collecting business cards, man. When Cyndi and I first met in 2007, there were some great business card dealers that were out there, and
Oh
they were,
yeah.
Chuck knows who we're talking about.
Wheeling and dealing.
And it was like you'd go home with a fistful of business cards, but you never really connected with anyone, right? And then over time there's been this shift to more authentic relationships, and not everyone, we were all brand new networkers at some time. And so I just consider it sort of part of my giving back to help other people understand that it's really about creating the community and the connection. And so the time to build your network, and this is something that I will say as long as I have breath in my body. The time to build your network is not when you need it. The time to build your network is every single day. It's about establishing relationship, building connection, offering a hand, lending support, commenting on someone else's article, cheering for them, even if a part of you is a little bit envious at their success, right? But whatever it is, building that network, because there will come a time where you will need it, whatever that's going to look like for you, and you will be really grateful that you had it. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. I say to people, set a goal to expand your professional network by 2 people a month. That's it. 2 people. That's easy peasy kind of stuff. And I'm not saying these are people that are going to become strategic partners, power partners, referral partners, champions, alliances, just expanding, getting to know them, understanding what they do. One of my great friends and mentors, has been in real estate for 20 years. And she always said, if all I ever talked to people about was buying and selling real estate, I would run out of things to talk about. And so she was the master at understanding what Brenda would do and what Joanne would do and what Karen would do and what Cyndi would do. And she would tuck that away so that when she was in conversation at a fundraising luncheon or a networking event and somebody said, gosh, I got this best friend, and they're she is heading down the path to divorce, and I just wish I knew how I could support her. It would be very easy for her to say, gosh, I don't know if she has somebody in her hip pocket or not, but there's a woman who I know, who approaches this process a little bit differently. Can I make an introduction for you? Right. And that's how it starts. And so if you're thinking that networking or building a network or creating champions is hard, don't think of the end, the destination. Just think of today. I look back through my calendar and I intentionally, I'm like, who are the 2 people that I connected with this month that I did not know before I went to that thing earlier this month? So that's those are my big tips for you. So I would just say, look, be yourself, be courageous, be bold, stop getting ready to get ready. There's never going to be a better day than today to do the thing that you are only put on this planet to do. Inaction is your greatest enemy, and perfectionism is the disguise that it lives in. And if you can remember that simply by taking the action, you are already moving yourself well ahead of other people who are sitting around at their desk every single day right now going, oh, I just need to do a few more things. So, and I would just say, and I'm here to cheerlead for you and champion you and, celebrate your successes, because you all, again, were put here to do something really special and really unique. So thanks for having
Oh,
me.
that's beautiful. Thank you for all those wonderful reminders and insights. You always do such a great job of really making your sharing relevant and pertinent to the days we're living in. And what a great reminder as we just, we're in the 4th quarter of the year, and we do have an opportunity to be able to end the year strong. But we need to be conscious in that pursuit. So before I open up the lines, I just want to have you share your offer you made to our community and make that available to the people, because it ends today, I believe. Make this available to those who are joining us. And I can put I don't know if you have a link, actually. Do you have a link for that?
But let me see if I can pop this up here, because I think I'm a co-host, so please hold.
So this is called, while she's doing that, 2024 planning session. So she's offering 4 hours of virtual strategic planning, completed in 2024, action blueprint broken down quarterly. Okay, there it is.
There we go. Yeah, I was still in my Canva account. So here's the thing. I haven't started promoting this yet. I feel one of the benefits my private clients get is they get this included with our engagements. And so I've got them all snugged in between now and the end of the year. And so I had a few spaces left through the end of the year, and thought that I would invite the Exceptional Connections community first, if anyone was interested in participating, to do this. And then I'll start talking about it next week. And so it's really, think of it like a deep dive. It's a chance to spend 4 hours on your business. We do it virtually. We create a action blueprint. I break it down for you quarterly. I help you take a look at your income streams, revenue streams, and then allocate it to your goals over the quarter. Some people have different times of the year that certain things are more popping than others. So we want to get really clear on that. Revenue is not linear, right? It's not, 12 divided by your number to come up with an exact number every single month. Every business has a cadence or a rhythm. And I work with you to create a budget. I find a lot of business owners aren't working with budgets. And so whether you're service-based or product-based, being able to create for you a preliminary budget and let you start plugging in those numbers and feel really confident about where things are going, and understanding like what are some benchmarks that you should be watching for. After that, I put all this together, create a document for you. We schedule a 60-minute follow-up call. We review the blueprint and the budget. That usually happens about 3 weeks after our first meeting. Answer any questions, tighten anything up for you. And then we do another 30-minute call about 30 days after. So this is our chance to check in and be like, okay, this was the idea and the plan. This is how you're going to execute. And then a month later to check in and see how execution is going. And if you're tripping up on some things and if we need to make any adjustments. Normally that's about $3,000, $29.97. And I took $1,000 off for the Exceptional Connections community to $19.97. So if that's something that seems or sounds interesting to you, you can send me an email today, debbie@debbiepage.com. We can even hop on the phone for a quick 30-minute Zoom call if you want to, just to understand a little bit more about it and make sure, because, you know, this is a significant investment and I want people to make sure that it would be something that was right for them. There are 4 spaces left right now of the original 5. So again, feel free to reach out to me, email, and we can get something on the calendar, and I'll still honor this for you. So, and I'd love to do it. It's a lot of fun. And once you've gone through it once, I know Molly Clipp has done this with me for several years. And it's one of the things that she will credit to the consistent growth in her business over the last several years. So
Thank you, Debbie. And thank you for being so generous with our community and offering that. And it's so timely. Really appreciate that. Again, for those who are listening, I'll put all the information in the description as well of the YouTube replay. But let's go ahead and open up, because we want to be able to address any ahas, epiphanies, questions. Hey, Brenda, go for it.
Hey, Debbie, I didn't write this down fast enough when you were talking about it. So if you don't mind reiterating what you said, which was picking the top 3 priorities, and then you broke it down and I'm like, I didn't get it all.
Yeah. So the idea is to take the 3 big business priorities that you have between now and the end of the year. And then under each of those 3, identifying 3 impactful tasks that will move those priorities forward.
Got it.
And then getting those into your cadence, your rhythm of business development, you know, execution, whatever it is, right? So for somebody, it might be a big plan, could be, you know, a relaunch of their website. We'll just pick this one out of the blue, right? A relaunch of their website, and that can become just this really overwhelming task. But somebody might break it down and say, well, the 3 most impactful things that I need to do is, you know, I need to create 10 updated articles. I need to revisit my packaging and my pricing, and I need to, you know, establish a shopping cart, right? And so allocating time then each day for those things will help ensure that you're going to get to the goal, instead of arriving at the first of the year and being like, oh gosh, you know, we didn't get the website done. Does that help?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're just helping clarify how to be intentional. Right? I love it. Anybody else? Feel free to unmute yourself and share away. And again, it could be a question, it could be an epiphany, something Debbie shared that just really inspired you.
Or it could be a random thing. Doesn't even have to be anything related to what I talk about.
Yeah, it could be about her dogs in the background. Marley.
When I did worked with Weekenders years and years ago, and the president of Weekenders, Rosemary Redmond, had a saying, take your dreams off your wish list and put them on your to-do list. And I love that. And so as you were speaking, that came back to me, that taking your dreams off your wish list and putting them on your to-do list. And I had read a proverb recently that said, a dream realized is a tree of life. And so anyways, I wanted to add that. And then busy, I heard an author talk about busy poker. And you know, you talked about going to the grocery store, and you run into somebody and what do they say? I've been so busy. And then you end up going back and forth. Who's the busiest?
Right. It is this crazy thing. Yes. I watch it all the time. And so this is the thing, if you want just sort of a fun fact, I learned the word busy from my vocabulary a number of years ago. And so if somebody says to me, oh my gosh, you are so busy, like it looks like, because this is usually where like our inferiority starts to come in. So we say, you're so busy, because then it's a chance for us to kind of justify what we're doing, even though we might not think, right? And so I'm like, oh no, I'm not busy at all. I just have a really full life. That's good. That changes the energy of everything. And it stops this, like, you know, and then the minute I am somewhere though, where somebody's like, oh, you know, when I say, how are you, Marley? And you're like, oh my God, I'm so busy. The kids, I'm just like, whoa.
I don't say that anymore.
No, and that's the thing. It's like, so now I think it's also a gift that we get to give other people, because
Mhm.
when that starts to happen and you watch me, like there's this whole energetic thing that happens too when people do that. I intentionally am like, wow, your life is really full too. It sounds like you love what
Mm,
you do, right? And it takes all their energy out of this frenetic, like,
Right.
and it literally try it the next time, come up with your words around it and watch what happens. It is fascinating to
It
watch how
is.
quickly they go from like to
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. That's so good.
Mhm.
So
it's,
good.
it's beautiful because it's planting seeds. We're planting seeds, watering them, and you never know what's going to come up. Hey, Chuck, I saw you unmute and mute, and feel free to share.
Yeah, what I wanted to share this, Debbie's topic is so timely and so on the spot for, I think, a lot of people, including myself, because I am a lifetime perfectionist. And this topic is so on the spot to that. And it's taken me years of concerted effort to recover from being a perfectionist. And I think the thing that what finally got me off the dime of doing that was again about in trying to be perfect, I would do everything 150%, right? And then it was never good enough. So what you end up realizing is that it really became like it was like actually resulting in inaction. And actually, and some of it ended up being busy work, because although it was all productive to becoming perfect, it just took me decades to realize I couldn't do it. And that actually I had 80 or 90% of the idea already done before I threw into my perfectionist mode. And so it just took me years to realize that I'm just being, resulting in action, wasting my own time. So I probably wasted 10 years of my life doing that.
Here's the other thing too for you, Chuck, and thank you for sharing that. Like, for the recovering perfectionists on this call, our 80%, our 80%, pretty dang spectacular. You don't have to get it to 100%. You certainly don't have to go to 150% like Chuck, like the overachiever. But what I'm saying to y'all is, like, for those of us who really recognize that perfectionism inside ourselves, know that your 80% will knock the socks off most of the world. And if that 80% or even 70%, I mean, come on, y'all. Like, when we were in school, 70% is still a passing grade. If that's as far as you is, if that's the line you start drawing for yourself and say, when I get this to 70-80%, we're done, we're going, and we will refine it to get it to whatever 100% is. Cyndi, this, like with the journey you're on with ECN, right? It is never going to be perfect for the introduction you're about to make, but you are as close as it's going to be to get it out into the world. And then you can just tinker with it and adjust the levers and the dials and the knobs. So thanks for sharing that, Chuck.
And then the 80% to 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the what was it? 20% of the I'm not gonna get that right. Help me out.
Yeah, because what I realized is that some of the biggest achievers I ever met in my life were 70%ers. And I thought, why am I trying to be a 90, 95, 100%? I'm wasting my time. And you can't, it sounds so simple, but it took me decades to realize that.
Yeah, well, and this is why we keep talking about it, Chuck, because somewhere, someone, who's a decade or two younger than we are is going to listen to this, and it's going to resonate and go, oh, and this ties back into the, having these conversations and showing up online and, sharing your experiences with the world. Somebody else is watching, and they're going to pick that up and it's going to resonate with them. Now, they could be like me and it could need like 7, 8, 9 more times to hear it before it lands with them. But when they hear it enough from enough people they look up to, it will make an impact.
Wow, this has been a beautiful talk. Thank you, Debbie, for sharing again from your heart and your wisdom. We appreciate it so much. Just want to toss it back to you for a sec and give us any parting words before we close here.
You know, here's the thing. Don't try and do all the things that I shared with you today. Just pick your one thing. Just pick one, right? Whatever the one was that you were like, oh, I can do this. Because this is also where in personal development we fall down. Is we go to an event, we hear a talk, we sign up for a class, and we get, 7 tips, 8 ideas, and we think we're going to do them all, and we set ourselves up for failure. And so I'm a big fan of habit stacking. So pick your one thing and work on that one thing for the rest of this week, and then look back at your notes and think, okay, that one worked out pretty good. I'm going to add this to my little toolkit next week, and maybe that one you work with for a week or 2, and then you look back and you add one more thing. When we try and throw everything into the soup pot, we don't make any progress, and then we get frustrated, and now we're back into this little downward spiral. So pick your one thing, work on that one thing, and then add something on top of that. And that's how you really build these habits over time.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for everybody that joined. Just want to remind you to make every connection an exceptional connection. Signing out, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye, you guys. Take care.